Welcome to Make It Happen, episode number 15. I'm your host, Ali Meehan, and today I am joined by Cherry Jeffs. Cherry and I are going to be talking about all things creative. Hello, Cherry.
Hi, Ali.
It's so nice to meet you finally. We were just saying off camera that we have been friends for years and years on Facebook, and Twitter probably started it, but we've never actually met before. So it's really nice to see you face to face.
Yeah, it's really exciting. The technology is working so far. Let's hope
Yeah.
it keeps together.
So while it's still working, tell us a bit about you. Who are you?
Okay, who am I? My name's Cherry Jeffs. I'm a mixed media artist and a creative practice coach. So that means for me, the art bit is I make what's known as artist books, which are for me like a cross between origami and pop-up books, maybe probably the closest I can get to describing it without showing you a picture.
Okay.
And as a coach, I help people develop a regular creative practice and develop their creative strengths, and eventually, hopefully, reach the goals that they aim for in their business and their creative life, and grow creative wings.
Okay. I asked you for the interview actually because I love your blog. So I quite often read it. I mean, unfortunately, Google have decided to stop doing Google Plus, so it's not so easy for me to get it. I'm sure I have to subscribe to it, and then I will get it every time you put a blog up. But I really like it. So when did your professional story start?
Well, as an artist, I studied at Wimbledon School of Art, theatre design, and then that really wasn't my thing in terms of the ambience. So I think then I switched to working as a graphic designer, and I had my own. So that was like my first business. I had a business, a graphic design studio, and that was in London. And then left to move to Spain. Carried on doing some graphic design there, more web design stuff, because that was the emerging technology at that moment. And then stopped doing that. Third business was making jewelry. So I had it started off just me making it and selling it, but then it sort of developed into wholesaling, and then it got quite overwhelming, and I developed a repetitive strain injury in my arm. Too much pliers.
Okay.
And it was at that point that I decided that I would sort of circle back and do, which I think what I'd always really wanted to do, but hadn't for some reason done, which was do my own art. And that was really the beginning of this journey.
Okay, so you're now doing something that's very much a passion project then, something that you've always wanted to do.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Where do you actually...
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, carry on. Yep.
So my coaching life came a lot later than that. That was really started about 5 years ago, maybe, because I'd been teaching yoga. That was my side hustle. And then my partner and I decided we were going to move around a bit more, wanted a bit more to be a bit more mobile. So that wasn't going to work. And it was a sort of classic example of close one door, open another, because within, I sort of handed in my notice, told my students, right, this is the, last term and everything. And then I got this email from a company called Coach Me, and I've been using their app, which used to be called Lift. And then they changed it to Coach Me, and they introduced a coaching side to it. It's basically a habit tracking thing.
Okay, yep.
Coaching, and they said, would you like to become a coach? They were just obviously mailing that out to everybody who used the app. And I said yes, and within probably about a month of stopping teaching yoga, I had my first coaching client. So that was kind of meant to be.
The Costa Women actually have a planner which I created at the end of last year, and the theme for this month is actually habits. What's your feeling on habits and how we create them ourselves and how they serve us or don't, as the case may be?
yeah, I mean, it's a hard one for me because being an artist, you know, I've got a bit of a rebellious streak. So I think I probably resisted the whole idea of regularity for quite a long time. And it was quite a eye opener to me to really discover that habits are, they're just a container really, and they take away a lot of the pain of, it's the decision fatigue, I think they call it now, you know, where you have to psych yourself up to do something as opposed to just do it. So I think the real strength of habits is that once you get them going, they just become automatic, and you don't have to have that will I do this today, you know, you just do whatever it is that you want to do. But I'm a big fan of have you heard of Gretchen Rubin's book?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of her framework for the habits, that, you know, different people form habits in different ways, and I would definitely say that's true from my experience as a coach, that, you know, it's not the same for everyone. So coming up with the blanket rule that you absolutely must do it this way, it isn't going to work for everyone. But there are sort of general frameworks that tend to work.
Okay, remind us of the title of her book for people that don't know. Or you can't, no, don't worry, I'll put it in the, I'll actually put it below
the
this.
Core Tendencies, but it's not that one. Better Than Before. That's
Okay, okay, yeah. Because I think most people think with artists, they're very spontaneous and just throw, you know, suddenly have an idea and an inspiration and then go with it. So do you think that's not necessarily,
I definitely think
it doesn't have to be that way?
Well, inspiration is definitely part of the process, but you the creative process requires certain stages, which is, you know, to lead up to that point of inspiration. So inspiration doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes out of you exposing yourself to things, or exploring ideas in some way. And then at some point when you just feel like, oh, I can't anymore, that's my head full, you kind of let it rest. And normally it's at that point that you get your subconscious basically does some work and comes up with an idea. So it's not happening in a vacuum. So all of that time leading up to it, you need to have been doing something. And the more regularly you do something to feed that process, the more regularly you're going to come up with that inspiration.
Okay.
So it's like I say, it's like a container to put that, to set aside that time for those things to happen in.
Okay. Where does your inspiration come from?
I think that you know, I think we all in some way tell the story of our lives, don't we, in whatever we work in, I think. So obviously that's the inspiration for most artists as well, I think. But in my case, I think I've honed into actually making art about the creative journey. So it's become a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, you know. It's like I do it, I coach it, and I make art about it. But I think that's what I'm really, you know, passionately interested in, is that creative journey. So and I do that in a very symbolic way. So it's not, you know, it's not literal, but sometimes you'll see, you know, a figure of an artist in there, but it's not always that.
Okay. Okay. And do you ever have roadblocks to your, so how would you approach those roadblocks?
I think that, you know, creative block is something that I really struggled with for a long time. From that point when I said, oh yes, you know, I had a repetitive strain injury and I decided I was going to start making art again. And at that point I had to face up to all the reasons that I hadn't done it up until that point. Well, in fact, I probably actually had been doing it, because one of the first things I did was start a sort of like a collage journal thing. And I literally went through all my cupboards and I pulled out all of this stuff that I actually couldn't have told you that I'd made over the years and that I'd been carrying around with me. So that was kind of like block number one, you know, don't put your creativity in a drawer, you know, it's like keep it out somewhere where you can see it. So yeah, there was a whole journey, I would say probably about, I don't know, about, could be 10 years of, maybe less, 5 years of journey of undoing those years of creative block and trying to find my own way through it, really, because there wasn't that much it's become a really big topic now, I think, the creative process and that. But when I was going through it, there wasn't so many books about it. I could sort of name 5 or something. So I was really just finding my own way through it. And from that, I think, came the urge to want to help other people through theirs. But now I don't really get blocked as such. I really did come out the other side of that, and I'm just in that incubation stage. So it's like what I was talking about before, that process of, right, I've filled my head with as many ideas as I can, and now I just need to wait. And that feels very similar at times to creative block, but not quite, because that something's actually happening, and if you wait it out, one day you wake up and you go, oh yeah, okay, I know what it is I'm going to do then. So.
Do you think it's been helped by the fact that you are doing what is your passion, the block side of it?
Yes, I think eventually I got to that point where I really had my own voice, but that took a long time, and probably coming through all of that stuff, that was part of finding my voice. And the two things sort of went parallel, so I can't really say where one started and the other ended. It's like having to work through all the blocks and having to find who it was as an artist really went alongside each other.
Did you have any business role models or coaches yourself?
I've had quite a few coaches on Coach Me. Before that, though, I didn't have any direct coaching, but I did have one of my heroes, I think, is a woman called Alison Stanfield. She's a art business coach, and she's been around really a long time. She predates a lot of people that are online now. And she came from working in some quite impressive museums in the States. So she had a very, unique knowledge of the business side of art, and what made good art, and how artists really work. And she was doing, before she was really doing coaching so much, she did a little more like courses and things like that. And at first I was quite inspired by that. I did some of her courses, and I thought, oh yes, that would be a great thing to do, because I liked the idea of passing on what I'd learned. But the whole coaching thing wasn't so big then. But then I just realised that I'm not really big on making videos, especially the ones that have me in front of the camera. So I like making videos, but not with me in them. So that sort of went out the window. But there was still that thing in the back of my head of like, oh, I'd like the idea of helping people. So that's how it, from that inspiration from her. Now she does a lot more coaching as well. So.
Okay. And you've mentioned a couple of times about having a regular creative practice. What would that look like? How would you find one?
Find one.
Is it hiding?
Yeah,
it's in my vase over there.
Yeah, it comes back to the same thing we were saying before, that having that container to let your creativity happen in. So creating a space each day. I mean, I'm not saying it has to be 7 days a week. That's obviously down to each person, but a regularity is definitely really helpful here. So just having that regular space where you're going to engage with your creative work, and you're not going to check your email, and you're not going to talk to anybody else, and that's what you're going to focus on. And sometimes it'll be incredibly productive, and sometimes it'll be just gathering ideas and pushing pieces of paper around. It's not like every day is going to be yay, like I achieved massive things today. So but having that space and coming to it every day means that you get a lot less precious about today has to be the day, and it's important what I did today. And it's a much more of a case of like, it wasn't such a good day, tomorrow will be better. And you just get more into the rhythm of your own work, I think, which we all have these ups and downs, apart from Stephen King. He just apparently just It goes like that all the time. Endlessly typing for 9 hours a day.
How have you learnt to be kind to yourself?
Yeah, that's part of it. I think is that forgiveness, that understanding your own way of doing things. That there is no right way. You know, I think we're definitely in the age of the internet. We're flooded all the time of how tos, and I'm sure I'm guilty of this as well. But it's like 10 ways to do this, and just accepting the fact that you might, I'm not saying those 10 ways aren't useful to read, but you might discard 8 of them and say, well, that one and that one sounds like me, or that work, I've tried those and they're the only ones that work, and being okay with that and saying, and just cobbling these bits of ways of working together until it feels like yours.
Owning it. And you have a very unusual passion with wings.
Yes, I do.
How did your wing fetish start?
Wing fetish, I never quite thought of it like that. I think it must go back to childhood. I was never allowed a cat or a dog, which I desperately wanted, and the only things I had was a budgerigar and a goldfish. So it's not surprising that you'll find fish and birds in a lot of my work. So I think it came from that, and looking at this poor budgie in the cage, and once a sort of month or something, we'd let it out, let it fly around the room, and then it was back in the cage again. So I think that really, I don't know, that obviously hit home at a deep level. I didn't have a lot of freedom as a child either, so I think I really empathized with that. And so somewhere subliminally, there was that idea of feeling a bit caged. And then through this whole process of, going back to making art, and, periodically, one of the things I really recommend that people do with their work, in whatever sort of work you're doing, is to periodically just get it all together and have a look at it. And one day I was doing that, and I just got out a whole load of pieces of work, and I went, oh my God, this is like, there's so many wings in this. There's women with either trying to reach for things, or on the verge of jumping, and there was birds and everything, and there was women with wings, and it was just like, and I hadn't actually realized until that point it all gone on at this sort of subliminal level. And then a few years later, I was planning to go to a networking event. This was in Granada, and I was trying to think about elevator pitches, which is something I'm not very good at. And I was thinking about what is it that I do, what it is I want to do, and it just came to me, this idea of I want to help people grow wings, and and it kind of just all, at that point, it just all fitted together. So
Okay.
I think that's definitely true with sometimes people, I have clients and they say, oh, I've got to come up with this sort of strap line for my website or something, and I think it's so hard to do that intentionally. It's so much better when it just comes to you out of some who you are, really.
What's given you wings?
Age. It's like, there's good things about getting older. When you're young, you think, you just, the one thing you don't want is to get older, but you learn so much, and you let go of caring so much about what people think, and that trust in yourself is much stronger, and I think that's probably been the deepest change for me.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to have a quick fire round.
Okay.
Favorite project, creation, food, and what tool? Sorry, food. Tool. I've got food in the brain. Tool, and why?
I think I might answer the food.
Food. If you want to have food.
No.
Mashed potato.
Wine. I'm a bit of a geek, has to be said. You've probably seen on my website I've got a section about apps for artists. So I think it would have to be Trello.
Okay.
And I love Trello because it's visual, and obviously I'm a visual person. I don't like, if I get a to-do list which has got just lines and lines of text, I just kind of zone out and it all just looks the same and equally unimportant or important, but I can't decide what to do. So what I love about Trello is that I can actually put images on the things that I've got to do. And I even like change the desktop so that I can, I've got images of, inspiring me on the project that I'm working on. And yeah, so automations, that's something you can do in Trello as well. So I have a lot of things that just sort of pop into my inbox every week or something, and then I just know that I have to do them without having to think about.
Good. Just thinking about people finishing projects, what's your advice to people, or maybe it's from the book, about starting too many projects and not finishing them?
Yeah, it's really hard. I think all of us, we've got so many things that we want to do, and it's really, really hard to decide where to focus your attention. So I think number one is definitely having a system to catch your ideas in, so that you don't have to do everything now. It's there and you can come back to it. I think that's really important. And also having a more overall idea of where it is you're trying to get to in the sort of short to medium term. I'm not very good at long range planning, so I look at a year and I'll say, what do I want to achieve this year? And then out of the projects that are on my plate, which projects are the ones that will help me achieve those things? Because there's lots of things that are nice to do or that you want to do, but they won't necessarily take you where you want to go. So it's a bit of a trade-off at times. So, and I think, and then really, really cutting down the amount of things that you focus on at once, so that you don't, I have maybe 3 projects, but they're in different areas. So I have an art project. I might have another content creation project that's, say, writing a book or something like that. It's very different. And then I've got ongoing one like my blog. So like every week I've got to do that. And so I give it a slot as a project because it takes a lot of time. So limiting it like that means that you don't sort of hit that overwhelm when you've got 20 things started and nothing anywhere near finished. Yeah, and then one last thing I think I'd say is that when you are getting to that stage of like, even that you've cut it all down, but you're still thinking, where, I just don't know what to do this week, I would focus on the things that's closest to being done. Because when you get to that point of like, you can see the end, it's hard, but that bit is, it's like, if you can push yourself through that bit, that's what helps you become a serial finisher. So get to the end of that one and you go, right, it's done.
So thinking of serial finishers, what's something you will achieve in 2019?
2019 for me is year of the product, because I've got a lot of content. I've got a lot of content on my blog. I've got lots of artworks. I've got a lot of stuff, books, but it's not actually out there being sold for one reason or another. Things that I have sold, and then I've gone, no, I'm going to edit that book. I've taken it off the market. And so it's the year of getting the stuff out of, studio, computer, and into the world and making money.
Good. What book did you read in 2018 which made it happen for you?
Oh, can I have 2?
Yes, you can have 2.
Okay, I have 2. The first one is called Finished by a guy called John Acuff. Finished, Give Yourself the Gift of Done, I think is its full title. And what I found really interesting about that book was that it's essentially a book about perfectionism, and that we don't finish things because basically if we leave it unfinished, it's always, potentially perfect. And I'd never really seen it in that light before. And it really sort of gave me a wake up call, because I have been a bit of a serial starter. And I have been getting much better at finishing, but that gave me the sort of final push. And I'm really, really now very, very focused at getting things right through to the end, because I'm much more aware of that hiccup where I go, where it's not going to be just quite as good as I imagined it was going to be. And the second one is a book by another friend that I've never actually physically met. She's a designer, blogger, artist. Her name's Nella Donato. She's Croatian, and she wrote a book called The Human-Centered Brand, and I can't remember the strapline, but it'll be in the show notes. And I was a beta reader for that book, and I was absolutely blown away by it. Apart from the fact that I was blown away by the fact that someone I knew had written a book that's that good. What she really does is she unpacks branding into the idea that rather than it being something in a way that you market yourself with and that you sort of superimpose on top of your business, or it's actually like a filter that you use to find your tribe, to find the people who you resonate with and who resonate with you. And just looking at it from that way round somehow just really changed my approach to branding as well, I think. And it's a really good book because she also gives you like huge amounts of, you know, practical things to do to actually develop your brand. So I really recommend that one.
Okay, good. And do you have a superpower? If so, what is it?
It's got to be to do with flying, I'd imagine. Something about wings. So, yeah, helping people grow creative wings and trying to grow them myself as well.
Nice. If people want to get in touch with you, which I'm sure they will after our chat, and find out more about potential books and actually see some of your creative projects, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Okay, so if you're floating around Granada or South Devon, you can send me a message and maybe we can meet for coffee, because I'm getting very into the idea that we need to stop doing everything online, and you know, we could have done this before now, Ali. We could have been, we haven't done it. So hopefully next time I'm in Spain we'll manage that.
Absolutely.
Other than that, my sort of online home is definitely my website and my blog, which is at cherryjeffs.com. So, and
Great.
I'm on social media.
You're everywhere. Are you everywhere as Cherry Jeffs?
No, but you'll put it. I think there's a few sort of ones that backdate from previous, you know, blogs that I had, so that I might have a different name, but you know, pretty much if you search for me. But on Facebook, you'll find me as that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you for the interview, and thank you for letting us see some of your wings. And hopefully I shall meet you in Granada when you're next visiting.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have that coffee or a glass of wine.
Absolutely. Or both.
Or both, yeah. Thanks very much, Ali. Thanks.
Thank you.